it teaches us to memorize facts, and mostly to memorize facts. And without application of those facts, then we are not educated. So basically, education, we need to change the way we have framed our education, where we just look at certificates. What am I getting? So you realize that students stress themselves just to get a certificate without even understanding what they are learning. So I think those are the major flaws that we need to work on. I believe education should be an inspiration. Let people enjoy what they are doing. So in the flaws of, so one, I do believe that we need to understand how the mind works. Okay, once we understand how the mind works, we realize that the way we take education, we need to train to teach people how to learn. Okay, we need to teach people how to learn, not just memorize facts, but we need to understand that education involves thinking. So realize that most of our education systems, it teaches much of our curriculum, where we use much of the memorization fact of the mind without involving the thinking part of the brain. So I think we need the two, where if you can memorize, but do you understand what you're memorizing? Okay, and then education, in a nutshell, and this is what I believe, an educated person is someone who is able to get something without infringing on other people's rights. Okay, so if we, in line with education and leadership, if we've got people that are educated in leadership position, they will never involve themselves in corruption. Okay, they will never involve themselves in getting things that were supposed to be to develop people just to go for personal gains, because they are developed, educated people. So basically, education should teach us to say, you can't get things that you haven't worked for genuinely, and then you call yourself that you're an educated person. So if an educated mind is a mind that gets things, what they want without infringing other people's rights. Okay, not just having titles, and then you get into the office, but you have got no ideas on how to work for them. Or the one thing that you do is to get what is it that should be in for me. I think then you can have all these PhDs and the stuff, but your mind is not educated, because education demands that we do things without infringing on the rights of other people. Yeah,
there's this quote that I came across. It says, if a child can learn the way we teach, we should teach the way they learn, right? Because our education system is so based on conforming and teaching in a one way, teaching like the way factories were designed, right? I mean, it was initially designed. Actually, education, like you mentioned in one of your posts, that the education system is actually based on, it's 200
edge of our education, where it divided people into decision makers and workers. Others were making decisions and then impose them on workers. So there was a division. And then if you are not engaging people in the thinking process, making decisions, because making decisions involves the thinking part of the brain. Now, if we just keep on imposing or facts on people, do this and that, we are not developing people's minds, and that's where we need to look at our education and work on those things. That actually we are living in a 21st century, an information age. So how do we bridge the two? The red work and the blue work. How do we bridge the two? So if we get to that point, the world will develop. We are going to develop as one people, and everyone. There's enough in this world that as long as we all develop, there's enough in this world. We don't need to get into a position and then we take advantage of the underprivileged and all these things. But if, like we said, if we develop genuinely from inside out, we understand that it's not about the material things basically, but those things are products of what ideas and who we are and giving a service to humanity. So that's education should be. Exactly.
So there's this, actually, as you were saying, there's this huge gap also between the world we live in and the world we are learning in. And apparently there was a McKinsey study which had shown that the market what the market demanded in terms of skills and talents, it actually did not match the skills and talents that were produced at universities or schools or the higher learning institutions. So essentially, actually, we need to bridge this gap by reforming our education system, and globally, I think. And there's this amazing quote that I saw. It says that, now there's the advent of artificial intelligence and the digital era, and machines are soon taking over, and human beings actually can't compete with machines, right? So Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba in China, he says something like very profound and very true, and I think every education reformist must listen. He says that we need to teach the youth and the children something very unique, because we cannot teach them to compete with machines. So what we need to be teaching our children are values, self-worth, independent thinking, teamwork, caring for others. These are all the soft skills. And like you said, facts and knowledge, they don't teach us those skills, right?
Exactly, Yeah, so just to add on that one, I think those are the most important skills that we are not taught in classes, like empathizing with others. Our education system, remember, it was designed for us to compete amongst ourselves. I should pass number one. So it would find that mostly I would hide information from my friends so that I look that I'm the most intelligent person. But in this age, we need to, instead of hiding information, we need to collaborate more, share information, and work together. We cooperate more, because we understand that each and every person, we carry different, skills and talents.
Exactly.
Exactly. But if we can come together and say, okay, no one is better than me, and I'm not better than anyone, but we're just different, then in that direction, we will respect each other, and we are going to develop our minds to say, education actually is developing from inside. Of course, respecting other people's talents and views. But like you said, our education system teaches us to conform to the systems. It's about conformity, So if you realize that normally they don't even teach the thinking process of when you're answering a question. The teacher will just look at the answer. If the answer is 2, then he marks you wrong if you find 3, without looking at your thinking. Without looking at how this person is thinking.
If you live for madam start பண்ணதுக்கு then you go for live. Don't go for live, YouTube live, okay? Okay, sir. Ma'am and sir will start after you can go for live. Okay, sir is not joined.
Okay, sir. Oh, there's this lag. I think he was yes,
he's not joined.
No, not yet. He said he will in a minute or 2.
Yeah,
so
okay. After we'll start for YouTube.
I think we have a problem here.
Yeah. We are waiting.
Yeah. There's a problem. Can you hear Edward? Could you hear that conversation? Okay. Could you hear that conversation?
Yes.
But that happened almost like 25 minutes ago.
Exactly.
So I think there's a technical problem.
Exactly, yeah.
So
going forward, what we need to do is we need to shift from the way we have framed our education system to a situation where we encourage people to enjoy learning, and it should come from an inside, arrangement where what is your strength, and sometimes you realize that as teachers, they normally, same class, they don't know, they have no interest in knowing where this person is coming from, what challenges this someone is facing. So you can never judge students with different skills and then you put them in one classroom. And then if this person is, it's, for me, we need to look at those things, So teaching, we need to start looking at how the brain works best. You realize that the way the brain works is it doesn't work properly under stress.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it doesn't. So it puts.
I think let's continue, Edward.
Okay. There's one statement that was passed by Jack Ma, like you said, Yeah, machine learning is machine artificial intelligence is here. It's how are we going to transcend with machines? Because we can't say it has come, but the same machines we can know how to to work with them. Okay, because there's no way. There are certain things that machines can do that human beings are able to be there. And, so it's how are we going to transcend the artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these things? So instead of looking at artificial intelligence like it's a bad thing, we can use it to advantage to say to do maybe in the hospitals complicated operations. We are using artificial intelligence. Identifying even the criminals in cities. We are using artificial intelligence. So in a way, it's how are we going to relate ourselves with machines?
Yeah.
With artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yes. About that.
Yeah. So of course, we just need to know how to transcend artificial intelligence. Of course, machines, there are certain things that they will perform, and there are certain things that they can't do without human involvement. Okay, so in a way, we need to, how do we relate and how do we take advantage of artificial intelligence? And you realize that artificial intelligence actually, what it will do is it will encourage people to start learning highly, of a certain education, because most of the education or trainings that have been done, they will be wiped out. So now we need to transcend. What are we going to be teaching in schools that will be able to to collaborate and work with artificial intelligence, because it is here to stay, and it will never go back. So we will never cry over sport. It's here. So we just need to know how do we use artificial intelligence to the benefit of humanity. Exactly. I do believe exactly. We artificial intelligence can be used in the hospitals to operate very complicated operations within a short period of time or a fraction of seconds. We can use artificial intelligence to identify criminals in cities. So it has a lot of advantages.
Which human beings can't do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just need to, how do we use artificial intelligence in this generation, and so that it takes us to a certain level. So the curriculum that we have with the education system, if we want change,
yes,
those that won't change, you realize that you'll be, sidelined to see what actually development is. So we need to, because like you said, a human being now, we need to focus on soft trainings, soft empathizing, morals, and all those things that makes us who we are, the well-being of a person, the well-being of humanity. So how do we cooperate between the two? And this is what we said from the word go. What really education is all about is a development from within, not from outside. So how do we develop from within? How do we use our minds to transcend, what is going on? And like being in the system of conformity, like a chain, then everyone is just following. It will never help us. So we need to encourage people to be independent thinkers, let them realize who they are. Once someone realizes who they are, the world can change. The world can change. But if we tell everyone to follow a certain system, that favors a few on top, I don't think we will see change in this world. So we need to shift the way we've been teaching, to where we can develop people according to their skills, according to their passion, and encourage them in that direction. And encourage learning by doing, not just memorizing facts. Okay, the factual memorization of education is, we need to get rid of it and change where we, if I'm an engineer, I'm able to engineer certain things, not just calculating calculus and all these things. If I can calculate calculus, but I'm not able to make things that I learned, where is the engineering part of it? It means I've just memorized. It's just the memorization.
The theoretical part of it. Yes.
Exactly. So education in itself, we need to not to misunderstand it. It's unfoldment of the mind and the doing part of it. So what we learn, are we able to implement and help other people through helping ourselves? That's how we should look at education, not the conformity that we've been taught. You're an engineer, then you just sit in the office, you're not even using your creative mind. You're just waiting for a salary, and you say so. That's why it's difficult for us to develop, and so we need to change the way we've been teaching our education and going forward so that we can develop our young people, our young minds in the next 10 to 15, 20 years. I think we can do something.
Yeah. So what he's saying essentially is that instead of because most of our education system is dependent on the outcome, they're looking forward to the certificate. But that I know in South Africa, a lot of people say the engineering degrees are very theoretical, and it has no use in application. And even when you graduate, you don't have any applied knowledge of what you've studied. And so in a way, your degree becomes useless in that sense, unless, of course, you work for a certain period. And I've seen recently, actually, I came across a mandate by the South African education system, I think, and the Department of Skills, they are actually promoting the technical training and artisans. I forgot the word, actually, exactly what they call them.
Yeah.
But they gave them training more on the applied side of things, like mechanics, and I think automobile repairing and maintenance. So these are skills which are quite critical. They're scarce, but which we need, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think even in Zambia, we there are certain things that we are calling STEMs. The way they have framed them, yes, if we say they'll be just teaching science, mathematics, and anything to do with science and mathematics. So I've seen if it's agriculture, these are young people from as grade 10. They're able to farm, fish farming. They're able to design certain things. So they're just teaching practical, learning by doing. They go in class, they teach them theory, and then they go and sit. They do the exact thing what they have been taught. I think if we move in that direction, that's the best education that we should be. It's unlike you get a certificate with good grades and everything, but when they tell you to be in an industry, you can't even engineer anything. So where is your engineering? Like your lecturer, just theoretical party. So we need to teach young people to develop their minds to see value in the nature. How do we see value in the soil? How do we turn soil into something that is going to make our lives easier and our lives of others? How do we see this is copper and turn copper into a finished product? Most of African countries haven't developed because we don't add value to what we produce. You see what I mean? We've got plenty of rivers, plenty of minerals,
natural resources.
Exactly, natural resources. But why we don't add value to what we have? So it's that it becomes difficult for us to develop until we start teaching our young people, young minds to say you need to look beyond the theoretical part and start designing. Use your creative mind. Once we understand that the mind can do anything and teach them about how the mind works, not just memorizing facts, we need to teach them how the mind works. Once they understand that the mind has the capacity to do anything, and encourage them, let it be an inspiration. Education should be an inspiration. And they will believe that if we had people that went to the moon, they just believed, they used their minds. Albert Einstein, they would imagine things. Then they had to put it on paper and in practice. So that's what we should be teaching now. These were independent thinkers, unlike, forcing everyone to conform to the system, that doesn't encourage people to think. I think we need to move away from that kind of education for us to develop and change the world for everyone to have a better world. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I grew up in India. So I think at the period I was growing up, so maybe if Jeffrey or Ashwarya can help say that, but actually young people in India, they also don't get to choose what to study. So mainly there's a lot of focus to become doctors and engineers. So it's just shaped by, what their parents want or the community wants. So it dictates their choice, what they eventually want to choose. And so as a result, there's a lot of loss of, the natural talent and creativity between each individual. As you said, each of us, we all have a unique creativity, our unique talents, right, which we bring to the world. So those don't get nurtured in our education system. And also the education system, I think, is very passive. It's very rote learning. It's not experiential at all. We sit there, we listen to a lecture, we read, we memorize text, lectures.
Yeah.
And actually research has shown that, like active learning, which involves interacting, participating, and doing, it's far, far more effective than passive learning.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when it's active learning within an education system, it means you're engaged with the material you participate. You actually enjoy. There's this joy of learning, right?
Exactly.
And actually, children love to learn, but because the way we've designed our education curriculum, like there's the standardization of tests. And, and in India, it's very, very, very competitive. And by that standardization, I mean, we have public examinations in grade 10, 12. Even in schools, right? The midterm final exams. So these actually, they increase competition. They bring about high levels of stress, anxiety in the young people. And as a result, you lose joy in learning. You don't learn much, right? As you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. You're very right. And, once we get, like the other point is when parents force children to do certain things that is against their grade or their strength, you can avoid this monies because you're looking at, the doctor gets this much or the engineer gets this much. So we need to move away from the focus on paper money and, look at who we are. For you to succeed in life and live a successful life, it's about to do where your passion lies.
Yeah.
This is something beyond the money terms. We have seen people, someone commits suicide with a lot of money. Why? Because someone is doing something that they are not fulfilled to the capacity. Until we start identifying what is your strength, we don't have to do things just to feed into our egos to say, I'm the engineer, I'm the doctor. Then what? So if we move from those kind of thinking where our titles stand by like people watching the water passing in the rivers and without engaging the thought process, then what have we done? A human being was designed to I do believe something that is closer to God is our minds. So if we can activate the thinking part, we get awakened who we are. It's beyond and getting a certificate and say you put all these certificates in your sitting room, but are those certificates interpreting or equating to how your mind is developed and what you're doing to help other people? They're just certificates, but you realize that it's just for ego to say this person is this. Then what? So until we start encouraging our parents and teachers should help young people to see their strength. If this this child likes science things, natural science, then we encourage that child to go into that direction. If you see that they are social oriented, we encourage them to do into social things. If they are into sports, let's encourage them to do that. So that the development should come inside. That's proper education because someone is doing according to their strength, their passion, and this is why you find that. Someone will be there working. You want to look at the time. We need if you do what you do, if you're doing what you love, time will never control you.
Exactly.
You will never be controlled. Yes, you will never be controlled by the clock. But the industrial revolution, it encourages people to be controlled by the clock. Everything is what time am I knocking off? Because you're not doing. It's like something that is forced upon you. So instead of proving a point, we need to look at how do we improve something. So instead of proving, we should say let's improve. So that's what we need to start moving into direction in terms of education and leadership.
Yeah.
Exactly. If we can't lead, we can't control our minds in the right direction, we are going to fail.
Yeah.
We are going to fail. If we understand that more, I do believe we can't even have nuclear weapons, because that science and the empathizing of humanity. Science is science. It can be dangerous, but we need to bridge the two. Okay, we have people that in nuclear weapons. That man was, the world has enough, so to help everyone. So we need to start teaching and young people to say we are one, and there's no way we should be, creating nuclear weapons just to want to eliminate another human being. So for me, I think if we move in that direction, we will understand what real education is. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, there's this quote by Aristotle, and that was like centuries ago. It says, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And I think coming from what you're saying is educating the mind, understanding the mind, and educating the heart.
Exactly.
It's most people. And I totally agree with you, especially when it comes to becoming a leader. You cannot lead others without understanding yourself, without knowing who you are. Yeah. So I think in schools we spend so many long hours and hours rereading books, competing in exams, but we've never learned to know about ourselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and I think there are two roles of education. Firstly, it is to help people develop their natural talents and abilities. And the other is actually to help them make their way in the world around them. That is, they can go out in the world, but they should be given the tools, right, to deal with everyday life challenges. What you are saying is understanding the mind. Yeah. And I think very often education has fallen short of both these.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, young people should actually spend time doing what they love doing, as you said so many times. And as they spend time expressing yourself, whatever form you choose, whatever method, whether it is by creating model airplanes or drawing or reading.
Exactly.
It's only once you have an understanding of who you are, you'll be able to lead others, teams, appreciate what others have that you don't have, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so you're right. Until we start to appreciate who we are, then we'll be able to appreciate others. So it starts with self-love. When you self-love and selfish, they are two different things. When you love yourself, you find time to discover who you are. You have to grow physically, mentally, and spiritually. Because humanity is on 3-dimensional. So understanding from that point, you find that you realize that we actually, at the end of the day, we are one people connected. We are all one. You see what I mean? So the issue with our education teaches us to compete. Instead of cooperating, we are always competing amongst ourselves. So you can never, it doesn't make sense. So we need to start, to encourage young people from childhood to say, you can be good in this, but you're not better than any other person, and no one is better than you. We are just different with different talents and uniqueness. So if they can understand from that point, they are going to have self-love, which will produce them, self-confidence, is self-worthy, and if someone knows their values, there's no way they're going to steal from another person if they get into a position. There's no way they're going to kill someone when they get into the position just to maintain their position. Because they've got self-love, and they know who they are. They've got that self-worthy, and that's what the education is. It develops you from inside and understand that you are unique, and if the other person is unique, So when leadership, such people who understand who they are, when they get into a leadership position, they will know that it's a privilege to showcase their talents and to help other people from their lower position to a certain level position through encouragement, through empowerment, and all these things. So if we can understand what proper leadership basically is, and then the world is going to change. And I do believe change can start. I should start with you and me inculcating that knowledge into the young generation that is coming after us.
Definitely, you should. Yeah, definitely. I love that. Cool. So before we end, we need to close this because it's also getting dark in India, so you can't see my face.
Okay.
I forgot to switch off the light. So would you, what is one advice that you would give to teachers and education reformists? Something that you would like to share, or even to the young people who would be watching us and are watching us right now?
Okay, I do believe the young people are the most important race and generation, of what is happening right now. So if we can mind their minds into the right direction, teachers should be in a position to teach them and know that there are two things that they can never change in life, okay? But they can just manage it. That's time and change itself. So young people, if you're listening, you need to manage your time properly. Time waits for no one. So what you invest in time, it may look so simple today, but it will reflect in the future. Okay, so whatever you do, make sure it is something that is making who you are, becoming valuable. And then change in itself, you can never stop change. Change is happening each and every second. Yes, so how do you manage time and how do you manage change? So you need to know how to do all these things. Do not do things to please people just for the sake of pleasing people.
Yeah,
do it because you believe this is right. Whether it means you're moving as long as you're moving in that direction, whether it means you're moving along, keep going in that direction, because at the end of the day, the truth will always win. So don't compete or compare yourself with others. Be proud of who you are. You are unique. God created you unique. But be proud of who you are and your uniqueness. And realize that time and changes, these are things that controls everyone, rich and the poor. But how do we manage time and change will determine what to be in future and probably the future after this earth. So let's time. Let's invest in ourselves. First, personal development, then we can help others who want to develop. So it's important that we manage our time properly. Don't waste your time aimlessly. Engage yourself with mental trainings, physical trainings, and spiritual trainings, because you need to grow in all these things. Yeah, it's like a triangle. If one wheel is not balancing, on an ox, you see what will happen. You'll never succeed. So you need to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically. So let's engage in physical activities. Let's engage in spiritual activities. You can through meditation, and of course, you need to be reading, not just memorizing. Read different books, because you find that the great minds, they have put everything in books. So we live in a situation in a generation that books are very, very simple and cheap to get. So let's keep on reading, and that's the only way we can exercise our minds. Thank you so much for everyone that has joined us, and we look forward that we can interact more. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Edward, for joining us. Yeah. From our discussion, we learned so much today, understanding why our education system is at odds with this rapidly changing world, where it's demanding that we be flexible, we be curious, we be creative. So these are the very important qualities that we need in the 21st century. And
exactly.
Yes. So thank you for watching in, and stay tuned for more discussions like these, which will be published in the same YouTube channel by the Youth United Council of India. And whoever joined us or will listen in later, we would love to hear from you, your comments, and please reach out to us. And thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.